Hello and welcome. I'm Coach Sexy, and today I have a special guest with me, John Galt, who is going to break down the Lijiang Tower round of Contenders Korea Season 2 Grand Finals. John Galt, how are you doing?
Hey, Sexy. Yeah, I'm doing great. Yeah, playoffs, Dark Side and playoffs. So we are really, really busy screaming and prepping for the LAN.
Yeah, awesome. And on that note, if you can tell a little bit about yourself, about Dark-Sided and your history in Overwatch.
Okay, so I've been coaching for 2 years now. I started out coaching my university teams, just like a casual thing. We did well. I realized I like teaching, guiding people, so I moved on to Open Division team. And it has been a ladder from there. Helping Open Division team made me a little bit more known, and I was asked to help out a local team that made it to Contenders. They were called Chaos Theory. They were playing in the season 1 of Pacific Contenders. I was invited relatively late in, so even though we did help out each other, I helped them out. They taught me, and I improved as a coach overall. We didn't manage to change the tide or turn the tide high enough to make it into the playoffs. So I did help them get 2 wins in Pacific Contenders, but overall we still didn't make it. But it taught me a lot as a coach, and it allowed me to improve and realize what I was lacking. So after that, I moved on to Dark-Sided. I was invited to Dark-Sided as a coach along with Project, and here I am. And yeah, we finished the group stage first in playoffs and in our group, and now we are into playoffs.
Yeah, and are you guys going to win the whole thing?
Yeah, confident of it. Yeah.
Awesome, that's great. All right, cool. So let's get your thoughts about this Lijiang Tower round. Are there any themes to look out for, or was it just kind of scrappy Overwatch play?
I think one of the things that it's a key focus on Lijiang is what both teams were thinking about and prepping when they move into Lijiang, because everyone know, not everyone know, but people who watch Contenders, you guys would know that the meta has always been predominantly Mercy Zen. And towards the end of 1.26, which was the group stage patch, you would see a lot of Pharah, Widow. So you either see, let me just write it down so it's a little bit easier. You either see Widow plus Pharah, or you see Widow Tracer. So these were the two most in Gardens and even in Night Market. These was the two most used DPS duo in Gardens and Night Market, and that's one of the reasons, because Widow was really, really strong. So if you have a really, really good Widow,
are you talking about the current patch, or like the playoff patch here, or the one before?
1.26, the one before this.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but this is like, to me, this was really important. Like the fact that these two was played a lot is really important, because both Runaway and Contour Pantera, like Korea teams in general, they don't have that much time to prep for 1.27.
Right.
So right now, the previous patch was 1.26, and then we move on to 1.27. So knowing how they play in 1.26 will allow us to see like how they transit to 1.27. Because if you play Widow Pharah and you have been training Widow Pharah for the last 2 months of the Contender season, it's extremely hard to suddenly swap everyone. What if you have the Mercy one trick, you have the best Mercy in Korea, or you have the best Zen in Korea, and suddenly you have to swap to a Lucio or whatever that's meta in 1.27, it becomes really, really hard. So I think one of the core things I realized in Contender team, especially for Korea, for NA and EU, anywhere, is that when they make the swap, they make sure that they swap according to their comfort. So because you're gonna have different strengths, right? Maybe your team will have your strength is a top Pharah, but your team has a weaker Widowmaker compared to the enemy team, or maybe your support is a little bit weaker than the enemy team, or your tanks are your main strength. So knowing your strengths and knowing that you have very little time to prep for the next meta means that few teams would move towards an optimal comp. So as time goes by, you'll see teams start filtering towards like 1 or 2 composition, or 1 to 3 answers, where there's only 1 or 3 composition within the specific map. So in 1.26, it was Widow Pharah, Widow Tracer. But in 1.27, because they had so little time to prep, and because the time frame was very, very short, you see different composition in all the different region and all the different regions, because every team has different strengths, and they have different solutions and answers towards dealing with a character that's considered strong in 1.27, which was Hammond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So do you want to just jump into it?
Yeah. So I think the first thing we noticed from both teams, right, is that they are both not playing Zen. So I was talking about how 1.26 you play Zen and Mercy, and how these two teams are not playing Zen this time. So you see a lovely change, and we'll talk about why they changed later on. So let's talk about what Runaway was playing first. So let's talk about what both teams open up with. So both comps that they open up with is the comms that they are looking to run. So the difference here is Runaway is going to be playing this comm no matter what, while Contenders is sending out someone to scout. So this is a lot more common in the new patch, where you might send a Sombra or a Tracer to scout out the enemy defense, and then you change your comp. It's a little bit more common now in 1.27 because the variety of compositions that you can fight again is tremendous. You fight anything. You could fight Hamster, you could fight Wrecking Ball, you could fight a Goat's comp, you could fight Ryan Zarya 2-2. So there are so many comps that sending a Sombra and a Tracer to see what the enemy team is running is actually a viable strategy. It's not something that everyone wants to do, but there's a trade-off. So the trade-off is you're either going for tempo or you're going for value. So if you send someone to scout out, scout out the enemy team, you're going for value, because you're going to lose out in tempo because you're going to have less space because you're not putting everyone on point. Some people are in the spawn. So you're focusing on value when you're sending out the Sombra or the Tracer, because you're not fighting for space. But if you go straight to point with your comp that you're not going to change no matter what, then you're going for tempo. Most people have been going for tempo because regardless of what games you play, right? Whether you're playing CSGO or you're playing League of Legends, tempo is a very, very important thing. Tempo just means momentum. So that's really, really important. But
actually, I want to challenge you on that a little bit, because Runaway actually, as we're about to see, they actually stay in this right room here for a bit before they go to point. So why do you think they did that as opposed to going straight to point? Was it just because of the Pharah or something else? I
think they've moved by this way because I think that they were prepared for Contenders to run Pharah. I think they knew that they had a strong Pharah play in D-Think, and if they were running Pharah, it makes no sense for them to choke them at bridge, because if the Contenders runs Lucio, I forgot to mention that in 1.27 Lucio it's a very common pick in scrims all around the world. So whether you're playing in NA, EU meta right now, they play Goats, right? They play a lot of tanks. They play Lucio Zen. In Oasis, in the recent semi-finals, we see Windstrike, Gigante, everyone, they're playing Goats comp, but they're playing Lucio all the way. Goats comp for all 3 maps of Oasis. So Lucio is now a mainstay in 1.27.
And are you talking about Koth specifically or all maps?
Koth specifically, but even in the other maps, Lucio is being seen a lot more now.
Right, okay.
So if you know that they're going to be running Lucio and they're going to be running Pharah, which means that even if you run, because one of the things about Goats is in the previous meta 1.26, if you run Goats, right, against the enemy comp, if you run a Zen and Mercy, you're always going to be able to choke them. You're always going to be able to reach the point first and choose the areas you want to fight in and defend, which means that you can choke them at breach because you have the Lucio and they don't. But right now, if they run a Lucio and they run a Pharah, they're going to be able to reach the bridge the same time you reach your bridge, but they have a Pharah. So there is a danger that Runaway gets pushed off bridge, and it's a risk I think they don't want to take, knowing that Contenders has a strong Pharah.
Right. So they're going to wait until the point unlocks to touch the point.
Yeah. So and I think this is something that's common knowledge. Like if you run Goats, you generally want to keep all your cooldowns and wait for that one key opportunity to use your speed boost to rush a target.
Right.
So they're going to be positioned. This is their headquarters. I like to, when I talk to my team and I coach my team, I generally label places as HQ, places that you want to stabilize, whether you want to get back your cooldown or you want to heal up as a team. So this is their HQ, Runaway HQ, and they will be extending their influence using their speed boost to move out of HQ towards a chosen target. So Contenders is going to be switching here. They will see that Runaway is playing Goats and they will be switching to a different comp. I think I might as well talk about. I think I'm going to talk about like why I think they switched the comp. So they're switching to Zen because they know that Runaway is no longer playing Wrecking Ball. Runaway has for the rest of the grand finals, you'll see the Runaway plays Wrecking Ball for quite a bit of the map. Like they use Wrecking Ball quite a bit. So Contenders knows this, that Runaway is a team that is a very flexible team that likes to run Wrecking Ball a lot. And as such, they started with the Lucio first. But once they know that Runaway is not playing Wrecking Ball for this map, they went back to Zen Mercy, which is all right. It's still a strong combination as long as you're not playing Wrecking Ball.
Okay. All right, so the point unlocks. They're running at him.
So you can see, like, when they approach, this is a little bit more basic, but just for those that hasn't really seen how Goats work. So you can see they're not really using a speed boost. They're going to be moving from this to this area. In fact, right now, if you use Goats and you move from White Room, you will start your speed boost generally from the halfway mark. So you start your speed boost generally from here and you push outwards. You wouldn't start your speed boost from here, you won't start your speed boost from here, you start your speed boost from here. So you will see Runaway do the exact same thing. where they will start their speed boost as late as possible, so they give their tanks and all their tanks as much speed boost uptime as possible. So that now they start their speed boost at the halfway mark, and they're going straight for Brigitte, which is the most immobile unit in Control Pantera. So it's a pretty simple engage, and yeah, this is really simple engage where Runaway beats up Control Pantera because Brigitte was overextended. There was very little that Control Pantera could have done against the comp that Runaway was playing. Maybe what they could have done better.
So I was going to ask, what could they have done?
What they could have done better was maybe to play Brigitte as a bait. So one of the way you counter goats is to position because if you know that you're running this comp against goats, then you're prepared for the Runaway to rush you. They're the two most juicy targets are generally the juiciest targets are generally the tank. If Zen plays at dojo or Zen plays far enough at the back, it's going to be very, very hard to rush a Zen. So generally the targets are going to be Yongjin, Decay, and Raw. So in this case they went for Yongjin, but Brigitte definitely should have been positioned a little bit further back. So if they rush for Yongjin and Yongjin dies, they need to make sure Yongjin doesn't die straight away. So they need to make sure Yongjin dies maybe 5 seconds later, because someone's going to die no matter what. As long as Runaway executes it well enough, someone's going to die. The question is, how much resources is Runaway going to put in before someone dies? If Runaway puts in a lot of resources and kills maybe one player, but Control Pantera manages to stretch out the team fight to maybe say 10-15 seconds, then their comp gets stronger because they actually have a viable DPS, a pocketed Pharah doing a lot of damage.
And,
so the longer
they
team fight goes,
really contest her, except for the D.Va.
Yeah. So the longer the team fight goes, the stronger Control Pantera comp becomes. So the main thing that Control Pantera needs to focus on now here is they don't want to lose too many members too fast.
Yeah,
and try to weasel down Runaway.
Yeah, and if I recall correctly, they turned this, right? There goes the charge.
So goats look like they were winning in the first 10-20 seconds. Not even that, like first 5-10 seconds. And then Control Pantera starts to switch it. You will see like the ebb and flow and this is very common in goats, where goats will push out, and then you see it looks like it looks like goats is winning. And then there is a very, very fine line. There's like a moment, a very, very key crucial moment where you find out whether the Runaway push or goats push was strong enough to win the fight, or was it not enough and Control Pantera hit back, because goats operates on cooldowns.
And actually, if you can go back, was there a moment, or rather, where was that moment where actually Runaway could have held onto that win?
Oh, let me take a look again. So they took out Yongjin.
So actually, if you can pause it right here, should Runaway back off and regroup into what you call the headquarters, or maybe not so far, but at least back off a bit, and then get cooldowns back and rush out again, or should they keep fighting here?
Yeah, this is a harder question to answer. I think they should have kept fighting. I think that they should have kept fighting, because if they play on point, it's only a matter of time before Didong does enough to turn the tide against Runaway. Because if they play on point, the reason why in 1.26, even in the previous meta and the current meta, while Pharah is played in this map, even though the enemy team always play a Widow, there's a reason why Pharah is always played, even though there are Widows all around, and Widow is so commonly played. Because if a Pharah plays a window, it's always a free. You're always dealing damage.
Right.
So you see this in London Spitfire versus Philadelphia. You see like in a lot of Overwatch League matches where the Pharah will just puck himself at window, and there's no line of sight that can hit the Pharah, because the Widow, the best positions for Widow generally still can't see the Pharah. So I think Runaway should just continue pushing. I think the main thing here is they needed to get, all right, they got 2 kills. So they got 2 kills. They needed to make sure that they snowball off this and continue to make kills.
And not just that, but I think Coma gets a res here, and as you can see, Runaway doesn't have a mercy. Is there something they could have done to stop this res, or should they have done something else?
It's one of the problems about Contenders is we can't see everyone POV.
I know the struggle.
Yeah, I know, right? So I mean, technically, the people that should stop the res is the people that can that has the damage, that not just have the damage, but has a way of moving the mercy. That's one of the easiest way to stop the mercy. So like a charge, or even like hitting the mercy using your hammer. But I mean, Bubba is dead, so maybe D.Va. But the problem is Janu already used his boost against Raw. Yeah, and not just that, Janu is trying to mitigate damage. So he's mainly playing utility right here. After he went for the kill on Raw, he generally been using boost to protect all his team members. So he's not really looking for the mercy right now. So if he's not doing it, and Bumper is dead. So Janu and Bumper is out of the fight, and I think they're doing the right thing. The only people that should be going for the Mercy right now, it probably has to be the rest of the teams, maybe the supports and the Brigitte.
Right. Okay.
It's not that much resources, but I think that's what they should have done. And we can't see what they are doing. So
right.
I know Twilight is healing Zarya, and I'm not sure whether he should. But...
You can. Oh, on that previous frame, you could see Lucio actually, and he well actually yeah. If you keep playing, let's play it out. So pause it right here. So you can see Lucio's right there. He might have had an opportunity to actually boop her.
The Mercy, yeah.
But
we wouldn't know whether he has his cooldowns.
Yeah, exactly.
Boop, yeah.
Right.
Oh, actually, I realized I made a mistake. The supports were actually aiming the Mercy. You can see Twilight aiming for the Mercy as well, right? That's Twilight right-clicking the Mercy.
Yep.
So Koma was definitely focused on just... I'm not sure whether there was enough resources to stop the rest, but the rest definitely has to be stopped.
Yeah, so maybe this was the moment, the critical moment, that they could have actually won this fight right here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
okay.
I agree. This is the critical moment. If they kill the Mercy, they win. If the Mercy gets the rest off, then it's highly likely that they're going to lose the fight.
Right. Yeah, all right, cool. Yeah, it's hard to finish off that Reinhardt. You can just hide behind a shield, especially when you don't have your Reinhardt. There's a fatty grav, and that's game. All right, cool.
Actually, I would just like to take one last look at that fight, because I was wondering whether the D.Va could have positioned himself more aggressively. Because Janu pushed for the right, and I think he moved back. Like right here, he pushed for the right, and if he had stayed in this position,
I agree.
Yeah, because he moved back, right? And that's because he's low on health, because the Pharah is hitting him, and he has to use his defensive matrix. But he moved really, really far back. So instead of puffing towards point, if he had puffed towards maybe war, maybe he would have more influence in this area of the fight. But I think that's already into nitpicking territory. Just a little bit of,
Okay, great. All right, so then I believe here, Runaway takes this back. Same
they have a lot of cooldowns, and Kondu's most important cooldowns are not up. Like their most important cooldowns in beating a good comp is Transcendence and Graviton, and if they don't have these two, it's very hard for them to beat Runaway. They do have Rocket Barrage, but against a Contenders playoff caliber team of like a Runaway, I believe Arc even quoting Arc said that the grand finals between Kondu Pantera and Runaway was easily Overwatch League playoff standard. So we are not just looking at two Contenders team fighting. It's likely that we're looking at potential Overwatch League quality teams fighting. Right. So even though you have Rocket Barrage, it's not as simple as you're playing on ladder, right? Like Diamond or Master or Grandmaster, where as long as you tell a team protect me, and then you go for the Rocket Barrage, you start killing people. Like Contenders is very, very different.
And actually, I want to ask you about the Rocket Barrage, because if I recall, I think Ding goes in. I think he might concussive blast in, and he gets sucked in the grav. I kind of want to get your thoughts on that. So we can play it out first, and then see what happens. So Stitch gets his grav in a few seconds. So right there, you can see Ding goes. Actually, yeah. Can you go back a little bit? You can see he goes in. I'm kind of curious. I want to get your thoughts. Was that the right call?
No, he definitely shouldn't have moved in. Like I mentioned earlier that we know it's one of the best plays to fight. If Kondu Pantera is playing, I think he was a bit too impatient. He was trying to get his Rocket Barrage. Maybe someone made a call that Janu had no defensive matrix. That happens often, because if someone says, "Oh, I don't think the D.Va has I think D.Va has used a lot of defensive matrix. Like I saw he used a lot of defensive matrix. Let's go for the barrage." That kind of stuff. If someone makes a call, then maybe the Pharah was trying to. Right now, it's just a theory, because a lot of times there are two ways of going for the Rocket Barrage. One way is your Pharah,
goes hard or kind of stays more passive, right?
Yeah, and the other way is someone like the main tank actually calls for the barrage. So maybe someone's microing his action. Like someone's saying let's go for the barrage now, let's go for engage, let's go for barrage. So he has no choice. He follows the call and go for the barrage, trusting his teammate that made the right call. Maybe he didn't do the engage I don't think he should have done it. I think he should have been a little bit more patient.
And a bit unlucky, because Stitch just got his grav in that exact moment as well. Awesome. Was there anything else there that you wanted to talk about? Sorry, I kind of hijacked your analysis.
No, it's fine. It's a good point. I think if they really wanted to go for the barrage, then they should have went a little bit more. They should have went more aggressively. They should have maybe chose this moment to engage, like this area.
Like on bridge. Okay,
once you
bridge area.
Because once you move into point, then the danger is because you want to do it as fast as possible. You're not sure whether Stitch has grav. You are very sure even if he has grav, then you are probably dead anyway. You probably already lost the fight. But in the off chance that he doesn't have grav, like 85%, 90, and Korean players, not even Korean, good enough players. I shouldn't say Korean players. That was my mistake. But good enough contenders player, top tier contenders player, they're able to track ultimates to within 10%, 10, 15%. And
Right.
this has been proven quite a few times. So if they know that Stitch is close, if they suspect that Stitch is close to grav and they don't have grav just yet, they should be looking to accelerate the time in which they fight. So this should be they should fight here for if they want to take the risk of actually engaging with barrage. They shouldn't wait it out, like let them enter the point, let them use speed boost, give Stitch maybe 5-10 seconds to build grav, then you use your barrage. Then you're literally just asking for it.
Right. All right, and then it's just cleanup of the grav. I know many people in solo queue love the grav meta. Have grav win, especially when you can combo it with something. All right, cool.
I think it's easy to understand. That's why.
Yeah, that's true. It's very simplistic in strategic nature, so I can understand that as opposed to other ultimates in the game. All right, so what do we have here? Okay, so they're opting to... Kongdu's going to go with this left side. Now, if you're attacking... So if you could pause it for a second. If you have the Pharah here, how do you want to play this? Are you trying to play this more slow tempo or more fast tempo into the Goats comp?
You definitely need to set up. If you rush to the point, if you just move in the point without knowing, without caring whether your Pharah is set up or at the correct site, because you need your Pharah to play at window. So what if your Pharah is still traveling? Because they don't have a Lucio. What if your Pharah is still like behind the tanks? What if the tanks are playing on point and then the Pharah is in HQ, like behind the tanks? Then the Pharah isn't in position to punish Runaway when Runaway is punishing the tanks on the point. Because that's what Runaway is good at, right? Punishing tanks, like punishing immobile characters. So they need to make sure that D-Dong is in position at the window when the tanks finally touch the point. So the tanks need to slow down and make sure that that the Pharah is actually in position, which I think he is. So yeah, they can move in the point.
Okay.
So like in this part, they are playing it slow. So like I said, they have to wait for the setup. So what I'm trying to say is they should be playing slow. And you can see when they're trying to move in, they're taking it slow. They're not moving to the point. They're waiting for poke. They're waiting for an opportunity. They're not even touching the point just yet because they know the moment they step close enough, Runaway is going to go for the speed boost.
Right. Oh, and then the shield bash. Anything you want to say about that?
It's a clean combo, very beautifully done.
Pretty
but
clean,
nothing.
yeah. And actually, just to be extra diligent, can we go back and see that Kongdu used? Yeah, I want to see if Kongdu used bubble and if they called it, like the Zarya bubble. So if we can go back just a little bit more, I want to see if she actually used the bubble. I'm guessing she did. So let's see. So she has both cooldowns. So we see right there. No, not yet. Oh, there it was. I think we just saw it, right? The bubble onto Roar. Like it's really hard to see.
Yeah.
Wait, yeah.
I think that's one of the problems. Yeah. I wish I had top down low, but yeah.
Darn. Okay. Well, let's assume that they knew that the person.
Yeah, let's assume that they knew that the bubble was, but yeah, it's a pretty important call.
I think you can see it right there. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, this one here. No, you're right. There is a bubble here. You're sharp of you because I didn't notice it. But yeah, it's in for those, I assume for those watching this video, it's a pretty important call. Every single time you're going for the combo, the first thing you do is to bait out the Zarya bubble. So that's always caught out. You hear the players. Since both of us are coaches, then you know that both the teams will always be calling out that Zarya personal, Zarya team bubble burn, and the moment they burn the bubble, that's the important resources. You go for the play.
Right. Oh, and actually, I just realized that Decay used grav. Did it get eaten? Can we go back? I didn't notice that the first time I saw this. So where's that grav? Okay, so right. No, not yet. Oh, it must have gotten eaten. But again, we don't have bird's eye, so we can't quite see.
Yeah. Well, that's insane.
That is insane.
Good play by Geno.
Yeah.
What was Geno defensive matrixing? Because you can see Geno right here, he's defensive matrixing backwards, right? He's not even facing towards the enemy team. He's defensive matrixing backwards.
Yeah, actually,
I was wondering whether he knew that. Yeah.
Yeah, can you go back just a couple, maybe like 2 seconds? I want to see. Because we're in first person. Darn, we can't quite see. So does he TM?
Right now, Geno is playing here, right? And he sees Decays over here.
Yeah.
So I think when Decay moved out, he when DK starts to move out, he knew that DK was probably going to grab, and then he aimed his DM at where DK was aiming at. Yeah, because DK is over there, so he ate the DK. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Like I think DK wanted to get everyone at where's that moment.
Ooh, and just to kind of to add a little bit more to this, had DK, because you can tell earlier he was being very patient with his bubbles, like maybe 10 or 12 seconds before this, and it would have been interesting had he anticipated the shield combo with the Earth Shatter. He could have played behind Roar. That way he could use his bubble to at least protect the rest of the team, even if Roar himself got Earth Shattered.
Yeah. So I think he was going for the higher risk, high reward play because he knew that them. I mean, he must have knew that there was a danger of Janu eating his grav because he was playing really aggressively. So it's obvious that he's going for the grav. He's obvious that he's going for the grav. So high risk, high reward. I mean, even when you look at Kondo Pantera com and Runaway com, we can obviously tell like they have different stuff. Like what they're trying to do on Gardens is different. If you run a Pharah, you're always going to be going for the higher risk, high reward play with Barrage and Grav, and Runaway is going for the more tried and tested goats, right? It worked in the previous meta, it works in the current meta. It's just interesting to see the different styles.
Yeah, it's awesome to see them clash. All right, so, and what's really funny about these fights is a lot of times, just given the compositions, the fight is over very quickly after, a big ultimate play or, Earth Shatter, Grav, what have you. So, like, the fight's kind of decided in the first couple seconds, as opposed to in other metas where they can be a bit more scrappy and more sloppy and take a really long time to fight it out.
Yeah. I think this is where I have to say that the Korean Contenders series is definitely... I know this is maybe an opinion that's going to be a bit more controversial, but I'm not sure how controversial it is, but I feel that the Korean Contenders is pretty much ahead of any other Contenders region. I remember you were in Jane's stream, I think, and you were actually asked whether you to rank the regions. I don't know where I recall it.
I don't even remember what I said. What did I say?
You said it was pretty. You said it depends. You say it depends. Yeah, you gave a pretty balanced answer. You say it depends on who you're talking about. Like there were top teams in NA that would fare like evenly with Korean teams. So you don't think that all the Korean teams in the Contenders series would beat all the NA teams? I thought it was pretty fair.
I stand by that. I think it was diplomatic.
Yeah. I agree, except that maybe I'm a little bit more. I'm siding towards more Korean. The Korean Contenders more because the Korean Contenders is, even when I compare their play with my team play or anyone else in the region, even NA teams, when two NA Contenders team clash, right, or any other regions, I'm not just poking at NA teams, but like EU team, any team clash, there's often in a fight, there's often windows of opportunities, right, that arise that allows you to either flip the fight or win the fight. So there'll be maybe this is a window of opportunity that allow you to win the fight, but maybe you make a mistake, so that's towards the enemy. So this is the enemy team, and this is your team. And then you have like windows of opportunity, and the more window of opportunity you find, the more you can punish. So if you're a team that you're not very experienced, and you see this window of opportunity, but you don't have the reaction or the experience to punish it, then you lose. But the thing is, in other Contenders region, even though you always see the fight seesawing. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not really explaining this very well, but you see the fight seesawing differently. So you see like Team A is winning, and then they make a mistake, and Team B starts to win, and then suddenly Team A frags out and secure the point. So you see like 2 or 3 different flips in the fight. But when in Korean Contenders, the first person to make a mistake
is punished.
That crucial point is punished, and that fight ends right there. Either you reset, or it's very rare where the other team, in the losing team, makes a play and clutch it back out.
Yeah.
So like, that's what I'm trying to say. Like Korean teams, they're so clean. The moment a mistake is made, you're dead. There's no second chance. But in any team, if you get a pick, right, and it becomes a 5 versus 6, the match doesn't quite end there. Maybe your Widow gets another 2 pick and flips it back. That kind of stuff. And it happens a lot in the weaker region. And even in NA, we see this a lot where it looks like a fight that should go the way of Team A, it goes the way of Team B just because they're not consistent in cleaning it up, in finishing up the fight.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think that it's really interesting because in NA, you obviously have a lot of Korean talent coming into NA, right? Like that's not a secret. But again, you don't see that higher level of play. And I think that's partly because the Korean teams, they're fully Korean. They all speak Korean. So as a team, when someone says, like, kind of going back to what you were saying earlier about maybe the Reinhardt was calling for the Pharah to use barrage, when you all speak the same language, that's obviously much easier to do. So you have
the reaction and the trust is immediate.
Right, exactly. So yeah, I agree. I think in Korea the games feel more fast paced, and that's because the fights can be over so quickly. Going back to what you said about the windows of opportunity, because they punish them so heavily and so decisively.
Yeah. I didn't explain very well, but that you summarized it perfectly. So which is why I'm more inclined to think that the Korean Contenders region is pretty much ahead of the NA teams. I mean, aside of like few selected weaker Korean teams, I feel most of them are ahead of the other regions.
No, for sure. No, I definitely agree. Yeah. All right. So what do we have here? I think this is going to be the last fight. She's rally. What was actually? Can we go back a little bit? I'm trying to get a sense of what Runaway's goal was in that fight, because it kind of looked like Youngjin goes, but he kind of gets separated from his team. Did he get booped right there? I think he got booped.
Yeah, he got booped.
Yeah,
by what?
And you're not getting. He's getting really. I just want to say he's getting very low value out of this rally.
I think he got booped by the Lucio. I think I saw the Lucio at the wall right like there. Let's take a look again. I think I saw Lucio. Like I saw a silhouette of a Lucio here.
All right, let's take a peek. Oh, I see him.
I thought I saw.
Yeah, no, he was right there.
Very fast.
Yep, there he is.
When he moved, it puts a Lucio in the angle to push him to the side. And that's a window of opportunity right there. That runaway is, I'm pretty sure, punished. Like you can see them, they were over here. Like I used to call this. I split this out into zones. Like when I'm coaching outside, I normally talk about zonal control because there are areas that are more important and areas that are less important. So you could see that runaway right here is rotating away from this area to this area because they are looking to punish Yongjin, which you can see. So mistake made by Yongjin, slide and push, and immediate punishment.
Yeah. And then you just have the grav to finish up the fight.
That's what I'm talking about. The Korean teams, it's like a dance. It's like a very intricate dance. One mistake and that's it. You can't even make like a single mistake. You need to have the information of where the Lucio is. You cannot get booped. There's so many things that need to happen. So I think the only thing that Yongjin could have did, like to stop that play, was to open his shield. So he needed to open his shield, pass that boop, waste his boop, and then and hopefully give his team, not make that mistake.
Right, so, and to go back to Kongdu, was there anything they could have done differently to aside from Youngjin getting split from his team, strategically could they have done a better play to push in?
I mean, I think it's going to be really, really hard because they are fighting under the clock, right? So they can't really. This is the better approach. Like against Runaway, this is the better approach. You don't really want to fight goats across the bridge. In fact, you don't really. Right now, bridge is more or less. It's a bad place to play. Like regardless of what composition you're playing, unless you're playing Lucio, it's considered a very, very bad area to play. I think the only time that you cross bridge in the retake is if you're playing like Chinese Contenders meta. So I'm not going to speak very long about this, but Chinese Contenders right now in 1.27, they're playing 3 DPS. So they're not playing the Lucio, they're playing the Mercy, they're playing Farah, Tracer, Sombra. So unless you're playing something like that, right, where everyone is flying or blinking over the gaps and over the bridge, I don't think you want to play across bridge. It's just a very big place to play. So 9 seasons of playing across bridge, but in the future, I think most of the teams will be playing like that.
And with 86%, do they have time to go the left route?
No, they can't. So they have to go across the bridge without the Lucian.
So in your expert opinion, there's very little Kongdu could have done here.
Yeah, they would have lost this no matter what they do.
Okay.
Their mistake was they needed to win the fight like before this or the 2 fights before this. Once they come to this stage, it's 99% loss. I mean, maybe if they were fighting like an OC team or like a Pacific team or even an NA team, maybe they could have turned this. But against a team of Runaway caliber, it's the chance of winning is very, very, very small.
All right, cool. Let's get on to the next one. All right, so we have same composition from Kongdu, I believe. Is that correct? Yeah, and same from Runaway. How exciting!
Yeah. So this is the HQ one right here, and this is the HQ because this is not very common. I think the most common puffing for goats is to go straight into point. Another way you can do it is you could just go straight. I mean, there are multiple ways you could go straight to point. You could go if you go straight to point, then you look to choke them because you have a Lucio. You look to choke them at a side gate or in gardens. Because when you move into gardens, gardens is pretty much a choke. So there's 2 gates here. So you either choke them at here or you choke them at here. Or if you run away, you go for the more unorthodox strategy and you put your HQ here, so you hit them from the back.
I mean, I think I like this because if they go straight to point and they're anticipating the Pharah, they're gonna allow Kongdu to build up that barrage very quickly, right? And then drain Moira from her healing.
So it's a really good point. So they're probably playing here because same thing. They know that Kongdu Pantera is going to run the Pharah in this map because of Lijiang, Ding, I think, and hence they're playing here. So it's a good point. Yeah, I agree. They're playing here because of the Pharah.
Right, and actually, I think I misspoke earlier. I think I said Kongdu. I meant to say Runaway, but I think you understood what I was saying.
Yeah.
All right, so
they're gonna hit straight for the brick. Yeah. This was a little bit better. Like Kongdu Pantera actually played a lot better here because the reaction that Kongdu Pantera did when they noticed that they were aiming the brick was very, very rapid. Straight away they gave the bubble to Yongjin, and Yongjin used his whip shot to displace Runaway. And I thought the reaction was so fast. You can see Yongjin. In fact, you can see Kongdu actually scouting. So they're looking at every corner because they don't know where Runaway is. So you can see Yongjin right here. You can see Yongjin actually scouting. So he's looking around the corner. He's like wondering where Runaway is, and then he's soon going to know where Runaway is right here. So great bubble. Every single time, every single time a non-Goats team wins a Goats team, it's always the Pharah that gets the most outcharged because the Pharah gets the most done.
Right.
I think the question here is, does Runaway want to play Goats for the retake? Because once you lose the point here, it's not as easy to play Goats. Yeah, against a Pharah that's already set up in position. The Pharah doesn't need to work for the setup. He's already there by default.
Oh, there's that barrage already, so fast.
Yeah.
But
so I think what's interesting is how did Kongdu Pantera lose this? Yeah, because even though I said that it's hard for Kongdu Pantera Runaway to push out, Kongdu Pantera ended up losing. And this is something I disagree. I disagree that I don't think Kongdu Pantera. I mean, not that I disagree, but I don't think Kongdu Pantera composition is that strong against Runaway.
Okay.
I think if you know that Runaway is going to be playing Goats all the time, I think they could have changed their composition somewhat. I think they could have played. I think they should have dropped their Brigitte. And that's just an opinion because
like a diva or
different teams. I think they could. I think they should have just played EU style, where they go like Lucio, Zen, Ryan, Zarya, then play like a diva or something. Yeah, I don't really know whether Yongjin is actually doing anything here. Like against Runaway in the last 2 fights, I don't know whether Yongjin is actually doing as much as maybe Kongdu Pantera I think is. But I think that's an opinion, so I'm not too sure about this. Yeah. Different coaches and different teams have different ways of countering Goats. So
right.
Yeah.
All right. So this turns out to be Runaway's favor, in their favor rather.
Mm-hmm. It's actually a really messy fight. I wish I could see the top down for this.
Yeah. We had it for a bit, and
see, Yongjin is the first one to die again. Like, if you look at what Yongjin is doing, we're just going to track because it's really messy. So we're not going to look at anyone in particular. We're just going to focus on one. We're going to focus at one specific character. So I think that's the best way of doing it when the map is very messy. So we're going to focus on Yongjin and we are going to look at what Yongjin wants to do. So before we look exactly at where Yongjin rotates, Kongdu Pantera definitely wants to choke Runaway. So they need to choke Runaway when Runaway is rotating. So Runaway is going to move this way or this way. There's only 2 places the Runaway can move from if they are coming up from main. So whichever way they move, they're probably not going to move from this way because if they move this way, then Pharah gets a very easy job in dishing out the damage. Yeah. But if they move this way, then while it's slightly better, D-Ding is a good enough Pharah to know that he can always play in the angle that he's holding right now, like in the top window, and he can hit Runaway from the sides as they rotate. So they'll be vulnerable from the sides like throughout the rotation, and D-Ding can hit them there. The question is, Kongdu Pantera needs to make sure that no one's get focused down during this time where Pharah is punishing, because Pharah is not immediate, right?
Yeah. Can you go back like 1 second and pause it? I'm wondering,
Mhm.
would it be okay? So Kongdu has the point. They're at 1%. They're holding now. And I'm just thinking off the top of my head, wouldn't it have been better for Kongdu to give up a bit more space to give Diding more time to put in more damage, get barrage, etc.? So basically, what I'm saying is put Roar way further back, and the rest of the front line a bit further back. Does that make sense?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. They shouldn't be playing because right now, Raw and everyone they are playing like they started here. If I'm not wrong, let me check again. But they started very very far in front. They started like somewhere here, but they should have been playing in the second entrance. They should have been playing like be before this line.
Yeah.
Cause
I think that'd be a great spot. Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
So you can see Roy's over here, but like, do you really want to stand there because you're giving the enemy an easy target? In fact,
Exactly.
even if they don't go for Raw, they're going to go for Brigitte. So we see like Roy's over here, the rest are over here, and if Slime speed boost, his speed boost is going to at least push them up to like this line. So they need to make sure they're at least standing behind the line. So they give them as much chance so that when Runaway reaches Kongdu, they need to make sure speed boost runs out. Like at that moment where the moment they reach Runaway and they start, the moment they reach Kongdu and they want to start hitting Kongdu, their speed boost is down. That's what they should be aiming for. But I think Kongdu played this wrong. Yeah. So back to Yongjin. So they displaced the Rhine. I think there was a moment where they could have targeted the Rhine. You can see everyone turning towards the Rhine, but they saw an easier target, which was Yongjin, because Yongjin decided to move in to hit the sides, right? Because he knows that everyone is going for a Rhine, and Rhine is getting killed. He's getting pocketed, which is why Roy is still alive, because Koma is healing him. And at this moment, Yongjin pushes out to punish. But you can see Runaway is really, really smart about this. They are not pushing too far in front because they know that there's a Pharah, right? So if they push right all the way to this line, there's going to be this huge region where Pharah would just be, pummeling their back line. So they push the right, and but as they push the right, they're looking for another target. If they can't find another target, they'll continue to go for the right. But I think they found another target, which was Yongjin.
And
like,
actually,
Yongjin
I think
is right here.
Yeah, and they got booped right there by that Pharah. That was that actually saved Roar. That's probably why they went for Yongjin, is because of that boop.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, the boop probably made them switch target to Yongjin.
And there,
so I really don't think Yongjin.
he didn't get the memo.
Yeah, I think like right now it just looks like Yongjin is playing a different game from Kongdu Pantera. Like Kongdu Pantera wants to kite, and Yongjin wants to engage. Like, what is this? Like, I mean, no offense, but why are you engaging into the backline? So, yeah. I think he was trying to go for the high risk, high reward play on the Moira, but man, I really don't think they should be going for high risk, high reward when their win con is for their Pharah to actually dish the damage.
Put in damage, exactly. Yeah. All right, and then at that point, it's just it's cleanup.
Yongjin looks like he's playing goats. Yeah.
Actually, and DK just wasted grav there. Ooh, can we go back to that? I want to see that really quick.
Right again. Okay.
So they get shattered. Was it a shield bash combo? What was that? No. The Rhine's not even there. And then they grav. Ooh, this is a bit sloppy. Yeah, actually, can we go back just a little bit more? I want to see the order of events. So, okay, so who gets the shatter off? It's Kongdu gets the shatter off right there from Roar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So, and where does Bumper go? Where's Bumper? Is he behind? This is
where's Bumper?
Yeah, this is the sad part about not having the POVs. I think he's behind the camera right now. No, but he just fire struck Yongjin? I'm so confused. Well, I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, I guess we'll never know. So one day, right? Like Overwatch League, we have POVs. Overwatch League, you get to buy the pass, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't get the POV. So one day we get POVs for Contenders and Overwatch League. And that's my dream as an analyst.
That would be amazing.
Coach,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually in Pacific Contenders land, we actually did get those. It was amazing. But now that it's online, we do not have those anymore.
Yeah, it's a lot harder. Yeah.
All right. So now Runaway's really pushing and getting really aggressive here after they won that fight. Getting that ult charge. And actually, it's scary because you have Stitch at 75 energy right now, and he's only slightly behind Decay. He should catch up right here. He's gonna get that advantage over him. It's so dangerous.
Yeah, because Decay is the first one to die.
Yeah, so you kind of fall behind in that graviton battle, which is always a scary place to be. And he just killed him, and now he's even gonna make that lead even more.
This is one of the reasons why I don't really like the support duo of Zen Mercy nowadays. Like in 1.2, I mean predominantly in 1.27, because if they're the meta right now, they're either playing goats, or if they're EU, they're playing a Zen, or if you're China, you're playing like maybe Lucio and Brick, or if you're NA, you're playing Lucio, Mercy. Whatever the case, there's always a Lucio. Whatever the case, you're always going to be choked with like a lot less mobility than the enemy team. So if they don't have a Lucio, they're going to find themselves getting choked.
So
with minimal amount of resources.
Right. Yeah. So do you think Kongdu's composition? Do you think it's just kind of too much in the middle? Like, is there not enough synergy? Like, I guess my question is, could you pair the Zen Mercy with a different frontline and different DPS to make it work, or do you think it's just not good at all?
I prefer Lucio Mercy, so they can at least push out with the speed boost.
Right.
Yeah, okay. And I think at a very minimum, if you want to keep like this core, you should play Lucio Mercy.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's fair. All right, let's see what happens next.
So the worst thing about losing a fight in Contenders or Overwatch League is losing a fight and not getting any ultimates, because you need to alternate, right? So if you win the fight and you use ultimates and you lose the fight, in the fight that you lose, let's say this is a lose and this is a win, first fight, and this is a second fight. In the fight that you lose, you need to be able to charge your ultimate. So you need to charge your ultimate and lose. So DK right now should hopefully get a graviton, and the trade-off is you lose the fight, but you get outcharged. But in the case where you lose, you stagger, you don't get ultimates, you're just gonna delay your next viable fight. Yeah, you're just gonna lose the next one and then the next one. So that's, I think for coaches we call that like getting cycled, right? They're getting cycled in ultimates because there's no way they can get an out advantage with the way they're playing right now.
Right. Yeah.
So if your comp is bad enough, then you're gonna get cycled.
Oh, Stitch is already at 87%. Oh man.
Yeah. DK is gonna get like what, one grav in the whole game.
Oh, actually, yeah. And I remember this fight. This was crazy. So can you go back a little bit? Why wasn't Kongdu able to capitalize on this Earthshatter? Was it just because their composition lacked so much damage, or was there some other reasons? Because obviously Lucio got a really huge sound barrier, but aside from that, I feel like somebody should have been able to die here. It's a little bit unlucky that Ding doesn't have his barrage either.
Okay, the DPS for Runaway here is sorry, not for Runaway, but for Counter Pantera here is of course Ding, Luffy, and DK. I want to know what DK energy level was, because if it's just the Pharah, because right now Runaway is using their sound barrier, so Pharah damage is actually not going to be enough unless he's paired with other people. Like right here at this moment, I don't think Pharah damage is going to be enough if Slime uses sound barrier, and he does use his sound barrier, where you can see right here everyone gets covered with 300 HP. So Pharah damage is not going to be enough. Even Pharah Zen is not going to be enough. They need additional damage. So Ryan is helping out, but I would like to see what DK damage, DK energy is. If DK energy is like, I don't know, like 20 or 10, then I think right here he's totally useless for the fight. I mean, one way we could do it is look at his outcharge, right? So if you look at his outcharge, and we can see exactly how much damage he did. And I seem to recall he didn't do a lot. Right here, like a right click here should get him like what, 70%, but we don't see DK doing anything here. See?
Yeah. Actually, I hear you clicking, but I don't see anything on the screen.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Are you drawing stuff right now?
Nope. I think it's just basically glitching out.
Okay, let me refresh this. I hope I don't regret this. Just want to be safe, because I'm pretty sure. Oh no. All right, we might have to cut this this review a bit short.
Yeah, that's fine.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that's the last fight, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that was really fun. Yeah. So.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. So any closing thoughts or anything you want to summarize? Any wisdoms you want to impart upon the audience and your viewers?
Well, watch Darksided when we are going to be when we play in the Grand Finals. Make sure you guys watch Darksided and support us in our bid to take back the throne from the Sydney Drop Bears. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well. Okay. On that note, I want to say thank you for being here. Is there anything you'd like to say directly to your fans, or the fans of Darksided?
Thanks for supporting us all this while. Yeah, that's all.
Awesome, cool. All right, well, thank you again for the
Okay.
analysis and for being my guest. If you like John Galt's work, let him know in the comments below, and follow him on Twitter definitely at John Galt OW. Until next time, thank you again, John.